Hello guys, and welcome to the channel. You're watching Fix, and thank you so much for joining in. If you find that this video brought you some value, please consider liking, giving it a nice thumbs up, and subscribing. In this video I will talk to you about some of the things that people never do as part of their regular car maintenance, which is how to clean the mass airflow sensor and the Manifold Absolute Pressure sensor, which is vital for your car to run properly. So I'm going to refer to these sensors as the mass airflow sensor, or the MAP, Manifold Absolute Pressure sensor, just to make it easier. So your mass sensor calculates the amount of air mass, and your MAP sensor calculates the amount of air pressure in the intake manifold to calculate the air-fuel ratio. Meaning if those sensors are dirty or there's something wrong with those sensors, your car injectors will inject either too much or too little fuel for the amount of air that you have in the system, and your car might not run properly. The sun is so bright up there today, but some questions that you want to consider is whether you should be cleaning this sensor if, let's say, your car is not idling properly, it's hesitating or stalling on acceleration, you have an illuminated check engine light or some things of that nature, you feel like the car lost some power over time when you got it. All those could be symptoms of a bad mass or MAP sensor. So the cleaning of these two sensors is something that most people never do, or just because they don't know about it, or maybe it's something that their mechanic never tells them. So that's what I'm here for you guys today, is to show you how you can locate those sensors and how to properly clean them so you can regain some of that horsepower, get better fuel economy, fix that rough idle, or whatever it is that your car is experiencing. So if you follow yourself to the car, right, the mass sensor, the mass airflow sensor is going to be usually located by the air intake box, or sometimes right after the air intake box. I have an aftermarket air intake, so mine is located right inside, right after the air intake filter, and I'll show you that in a little bit. And then the MAP sensor, if your car has one, will be located usually on the intake air manifold. This is my air intake manifold, and my sensor is located right here. Sometimes, depending on your car again, it could be located somewhere on the firewall, and it will be connected to the intake manifold using a vacuum line, right? But most of the time it's going to be on the intake manifold. So let me get these covers off, and I'll show you what you actually need to get this job done. So these are the things that you'll need to do to clean your mass airflow sensor or your MAP sensor. Is mass airflow sensor cleaner. This is the one that I use by CRC. I highly recommend this one. Not that it's sponsored or anything, it's just because I actually feel the results. I haven't tried any other one, so I can't really tell you. But make sure you only use mass airflow sensor and do not use anything else. This doesn't leave any residue after it dries. It's made for electrical components cleaning, so do not use anything else like air brake cleaner or anything like that, right? Something else you might need is to pop some clips on your air intake boxes, maybe as a screwdriver. Some cars have Allen key type of bolts that you might need to remove, and sometimes you might want to undo the sensor that's located on your firewall using, I don't know, an 8-10 millimeter wrench, box wrench, or something like that. So these are the minor few things that you will need to do the job. And my mass airflow sensor is located right here. It has two Allen key bolts, 1 and 2, or screws, right? So I'm gonna use an Allen key to undo those. Okay, so the next step after you get the screws out is you undo the electrical connector, right? And you remove the sensor straight up. Careful not to touch it. Okay, and just gonna set it aside on this rag here for now, and we're gonna get to the MAP sensor, which is a lot easier, right? So there's just a connector here, and undo that. And this is, in my car, it's an 8 millimeter screw. So I'm just gonna do the screwdriver that has an 8 millimeter connection. Okay, and then pop it out slowly. So, oh look, you can even see that it has some oil residue on it. So that's not good, right? So it's dirty. So we're gonna clean it. So Set it aside, nice and careful. Okay guys, I'm gonna clean the intake manifold first. However, just a warning for you guys, it's listed on the instructions, so always read the directions of whatever product you're using. Right, I've read this before, but it doesn't apply to my car, but I'm gonna read it for some of you guys. So it says, do not use on vehicles with Karman Vortex airflow sensors, which includes some Toyota Supra turbos, Mitsubishis, and most Lexus vehicles. So be sure you're using the proper product for your application. Okay, so I'm just gonna spray some on the interior here. Okay, and then we're gonna move on to our airflow sensors. Okay, so as per instructions, it says to squirt 10 to 15 times within the inside of the sensor. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And then I'm gonna spray on the outside just to get anything off. Now put it on top of a microfiber towel so any excess can just go out on the microfiber towel. If you use a little extra, sure it won't hurt. But make sure you don't contact the sensor, especially the wires where the resistors are in there, with anything besides the spray or the liquid itself for the sensor. Same thing for the map sensor. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Probably a good idea to wear some gloves, not to get any of this stuff on your hands and especially your eyes. So just be careful when you're using this if you're not using any personal protective equipment, but it's always recommended. So just let that fully dry. I'm gonna leave it out for probably 5 to 10 minutes. I'm gonna shake it off if there's any extra that's sitting in there, and just let it dry for 5 to 10 minutes and then reassemble. So there you have it guys, that's how you clean your mass and map sensor. If you're having any issues with your car idle, stalling, or your check engine lights, for your sensors, the easy thing to do is just clean them. Sometimes you go to the mechanic, they'll ask you to, they'll tell you to replace them, which could cost well over $100 for, the mass sensor. I think for this car it's like 150 bucks new, or maybe even more, I'm not even sure. But they can get quite expensive, and for the labor that they all charge you, so some mechanics might want to rip you off. So sometimes it's as simple as cleaning. So if you find this video helpful, if you have any questions, put it down in the comments. I'll answer all of your questions. If you found it valuable, please consider subscribing and liking. I am fairly new to YouTube and slowly growing with your guys' help. I appreciate it. I've just reached 200 subscribers. I'm excited about that. The goal is 1,000. Thank you so much for joining, and until next time, take care.